well, well. Let me tell you what they're doing. Sound weapons used to confuse the hearing center of human beings. These people broadcast this subliminal in the atmosphere into everyone's home. I picked this up this morning. There is some man, he's going off. He's doing a voice change of what he thinks is a woman, but it sounds awful. It sounds pathetically like gay, sick, pathetic. And he keeps insisting as he's yelling and screaming because you can hear like two voices. You can hear his voice and then this fake woman's voice going on. So he adds a subliminal suggestive thought to it, which says, I'm Taylor Swift. He insists he's Taylor Swift with this voice, right? He goes off, and it's like it sounds like a hormonal drama queen, right? Going off and off about this, about that, like a hormonal, like, don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am? And he's going on and on and on, right? So this person doing this is using sound, right? You know, and they're doing this in the homes, the smart meters. They're doing it. In my case, I'm picking this up. I guess it's coming into the home, right? Because I have this sound jammer. Jeremy says I sound like an idiot. You probably can't hear this that well. But if you have good hearing, you can hear this. It's very odd. This guy is talking. He's in his home. He's got like a sound tube, probably like a big round tube pointed out his window with like 1,000-watt amplifier hooked up to it. And he's just blaring right above the hearing. If you go look at a chart, right, hearing, they say it's from 20 hertz to 20K, but we don't hear that. We probably only hear up to maybe 5K, if that, you know? So these people are broadcasting this into the atmosphere and putting it on light, right? Now, they keep doing it. I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know why they do it. They're doing it to confuse people. Some people are in their homes and they're held hostage by these people who will yell at them night and day. They will hook up an artificial intelligent recorder transmitter beam to their house, and they will just yell at them. The computer will, and these people will just go to work. So me, as a victim, as many others, will sit there and deal with someone ragging them right above the hearing center. So if a normal cop drove by, you say to the cop, do you hear that, officer? The cop goes, no, I don't hear nothing, right? And he doesn't. But yet, when you sit in the field of energy at 6K per hour, week, you start to hear this sound, and it goes into your brain as subliminal sound. Now, my neighbors in this house there, he does it. The guy up on the hill does it. It's like a group of young punk kids. It's like the new fad, right? Because they talk to each other. Now, on the same sound channel, in the atmosphere, you can have a conversation with somebody probably 3-4 miles away. No one else in the neighborhood would hear, but yet you can talk. Hello, John, right? And it goes way out in the air. And the guy, John, a mile away might say, hey, what's up? Now, me sitting in the road here, I wouldn't hear it because it's at 7K or 10K. But they can talk to each other because they got headsets on and a microphone that just takes the signal and makes it so they can hear it and then transmits it to high frequency so no one else hears it. So now these people talk amongst themselves doing this all day, all night, and they're cocky. They're badasses. They're real badasses. You know what I mean? These are punk people. They're like 5'7", 200 pounds. You know, like, don't you be messing with me, motherfucker. Right? They're degenerates, low lives, good for nothings. They don't work. They don't do anything. They're usually led by a guy known as the, what's the term they call him? The drug pusher. The pusher man. He goes and he gives these guys drugs to perform the task, which is spying, stealing, gathering valuables, you know. Like, gee, check out what I have, boss. I picked up what? I picked up a safe, right? I've heard this a few times on this channel last summer. They picked up a safe, and they couldn't get it open. They were trying to figure out how to get this safe open, right? And they're sitting out there, I guess, in a field with a sledgehammer, pounding the shit out of some small safe because they couldn't figure out how to get it open. And they're asking all of a sudden, does anyone know where I could get a safe cracker? You know, like something out of 1950s, you know? Then I start telling them, why don't you get some sandpaper and do your fingers, pal? Right? And they're like, yeah, maybe we should try getting some sandpaper and then try to see if we can break into this safe. Well, what do you mean? Well, we can't do that because I kind of broke the combination thing off the front of it now, and it's kind of banged up pretty bad. You know? These are these low-level drug dealers that work for the high-level drug dealers that are connected to the internal espionage and the mole program for the police and the government that's connected to the international crime up through Canada into the mafia. Okay? A big network of low-life losers. These people never even went to school. So what they're doing now is they're attacking people's hearing centers by yelling at them and harassing them subconsciously or subliminally, very quietly. And they go on and on and on, and I don't know how they do it, because right now I've listened to a woman wakes up every fucking morning at 3 o'clock. It's her shift. I've heard them say. She goes, oh, I got to get to work and do my shift, right? She does the 3 to 7. She gets on and she starts yelling to the neighborhood, who hears her subconsciously or subliminally just above the normal hearing range. And she sits there and goes on and on like she's God King piss shit. All happy as crap, having a conversation with herself as though she is talking to somebody of importance. And she goes on and on. So I've been up since 3 o'clock now, listening to this woman go on and on, having this conversation with herself as though she's two people. And I'm like, who are you talking to? Because they're beaming the signal into my house and probably other houses. And they come through the smart power grid through like a induced signal into the home. Now, I don't know why they're doing this. It's the same thing they did down in Cuba. Is it some kind of sound attack and that they got a bunch of children up here to work as their soldiers in the United States? You know? And I keep telling them, you guys, you're talking so much that your material is getting old. And you sound stupider and stupider as the days go by. It's like you just can't come up with new material, can you? No matter what you say, it's getting useless, it's getting old, it sounds stupid, right? And then they read your head because they got the microwave reader going that NSA uses. They have the same software and stuff they stole. So they read your predictive thoughts or your visual speech, and they start talking to you about the visual speech, right? About what you're seeing. You know, Joe's making coffee now. What's that coffee pot gonna talk to you, Joe? I don't think that coffee pot's gonna be talking to you, Joe. You know, and they go off, and I hear them, and I say, listen, nitwit. I have a receiver in my home. I hear you. I'm not like the unwitting, unknowing Mrs. Pritchards that lives on Durgan Hill that died at 96, was fighting the Nazis in Germany, right? I'm not like her, who was honored for her services saving children from the gas chambers, okay? She lived right down the road here in Durgan Hill. Now, she was fighting the Nazis. I believe this group up here doing this, they set up here back in World War II, after World War II, when this area was pretty much barren. And they set these microwave long wave antennas all the way to post down to the New England area where they put the subtle suggestive sounds into the people. Now, let me tell you something, Gumpo nitwits. I have a feeling some of you are actual Nazi communists, right? From the old World War II era out of South America, who still hates the United States and feels that the United States owes you something for their, New World Order, Third Reich. Now you're here doing it. You're doing it. It's being done. Someone's telling you to do something. These young punk kids are stupid as shit. They're led by drugs and alcohol. Some of them do not remember 6 hours earlier. Okay? You will enlighten them to the fact that they're being harassed. 6 hours later, they will be right back on harassing you again, and they will have forgotten, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm the one that's fucking brainwashed. And you're like, don't you remember? I just told you, you realized it because I proved it to you. I said, simply take out your recorder. Start recording the sound around you, right? Wherever you may be. When you start hearing this noise hum in your home, start recording it. Wait about 15 minutes, then play it through a loud stereo system, really loud, and listen to the recording. You can barely hear it, but there is somebody talking out there. They're talking to who? They're talking to you because they're watching you in your home on your smart grid, and they're able to communicate to you through a high frequency that your normal hearing centers cannot hear. But your brain picks up and discerns because it's a subliminal signal, right? Or subliminal frequency. It may not be the actual subliminal that they also sound. Now, I'm telling you this, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. It's happening, okay? People don't know it because you don't want to hear it and you don't want to believe it because you got to get up and go to work, sit there for 6 hours, 7 hours, and drive home. Now, let me tell you something. Why don't you go to work today, take your iPhone, put it in the cradle, and just hit record on your voice recorder for the day, okay? And continue your day. Now, I tell these people harassing me, I say, listen, why don't you hit record and listen how you sound? Some of you sound like you're not communicating properly, right? Now, if you go and you listen to yourself during the day, you might say, holy shit, what did I say? And you'll be like, I said the words backwards. Or I asked my boss, doing what happening? And my boss said, what? And you said, what are you doing? What happened? You know, and you don't even realize that you screwed up the words or the communication. You tell both of you are oblivious to the little glitch that occurred in your brain. Now, I notice that happening to me sometimes when I tend to get what you call distracted by this harassment. But I keep telling you, these guys are using sound weapons to distract the hearing centers of the human being in the United States. They're doing it for no good. Some of them are doing it because they just love screwing with people. And they're drug addicts. And they're using it to hide their drug addiction. Right? This is going on. I hear the guy right now. There's an observer that observes me. Right? 6:45. Right? They're giggling. It's like a game. It's funny because they're sitting in their control room, wherever it may be, a bunker, an office building, 10 desks. They're freshly shaven, showered, clean, drinking a cup of coffee, right? It's a game. It's fun as shit to them. They have their targets they pick out, who are people they harass or considered threats to their cause, which is what? Their cause is to what? Fuck up life in the United States, right? Demoralize, devaluize, right? Uh-oh, it looks like Waylon Ray got arrested for trafficking heroin into Vermont, use of a firearm while dispensing drugs, possession of narcotic drugs, 2 ounces of crack and cocaine. That must be one of my neighbor's friends. Drug-related charges held on. This is out of New York now. This is Plattsburgh. I guess you guys don't fuck with the New York State Troopers, do you? But you do fuck with the Vermont State Troopers by sending them on fake calls. Okay, I sit here and I listen to the police scanner sometimes, and I'll hear, so-and-so, so-and-so, we have someone on 91 that's driving erratically, they'll say, right? And the officer goes, okay, I'll just swing over and look at it. So meanwhile, he's down here in this part of the town or that part of the town, and now he's diverted out to the highway. What happens? The nitwit in this area says, okay, cool, he's gone. You come on through. It says we have 4 or 5 cars going up. We have 2 in the front, 2 in the back. We'll be in the middle. If the cops come behind you, you just pull over, let him pull you. If he goes around you, the other guy can just cut him off. And then the other 2, you stop and I'll go around you and you block the road. And I'm listening to these guys talk about this on their covert channel because they think it's so covert, because in a way it is if you're not aware of it. I keep telling the cops, the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, they have your stolen fucking covert software, okay? And that seems that either they're too busy or they don't quite understand. I'm in Vershire, Vermont, okay? It's a small town. It's so tiny, 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 small. It ain't a big city. Okay. You know what they were saying this morning? This is the delusional mind of the nitwit. I'm half asleep listening to this channel. You hear that channel? I'm listening to that. Don't have time for this. So they're going off about how, what'd they say? Some woman went into a house and was eating the food in the house, and there was dead bodies in the house, and there was flies. And someone said, I told you don't go in there and eat any of the food because the flies are flying around and they land on the food, and you're probably going to get sick. And then the story morphed to, well, who were they? Oh, they were 3 FBI agents that came up who we killed, who are now dead in the home and haven't checked in yet. And then it morphs to some other thing. It says like they're having a covert conversation within a conversation, but they pick up on me listening for some reason, as though my hearing center emits a tone, my ears, say 7295, whenever they're on their equipment, right? And in the atmospheric situation, it gets a match. Their personal handheld must go, meaning someone's listening. I don't know how this works, but every time I hear them, they detect that I hear them. And if I switch off the channel real fast to another channel, they don't realize that, they don't hear me anymore listening to them, right? It's like you got a few seconds before they log on. Now, so they hear me hearing them, listening to me, listen to them, right? So we're listening to each other, listen to each other. So they start to morph the story, and it becomes a covert scrambled signal underneath the signal. So I record it. Now, as I record the conversation, there's another conversation under the conversation, which is the real conversation, which takes words from me and them and other conversations, combines them together, and creates a scrambled artificial intelligent jamming channel, which sounds like a conversation. But it's not a conversation because it makes no sense, because the computer doesn't know or have the sense to make a sensible conversation. So it comes out stupid. But what's the underlining fucking details are the key words used in the conversation, which is that somebody's dead and there are flies flying around, and don't eat the food because it might be poisoned. Okay? Now, that's that. I have no idea why this is coming down and why I hear this every fucking morning. And I keep yelling at these nitwits, listen, people, where are you? And they go, we're from Connecticut. I'm like, no, you're not from Connecticut. You're from right in the area. The signal doesn't travel that far unless you're on some sort of network, right? Are they on a network? I have no idea if they're on a network. But if they get on, they could be right in a network and come through a network feed on the fiber optic lines that were put in 4 years ago. Okay, this problem wasn't here 4 years ago because I used to listen to the radio. I've been up here 17 years. Every year in the morning, I'd get on and I'd just turn on the ham radio and just listen to the sound of the ham, the distant channels. You know, maybe a half hour, maybe 10 minutes. Just check it out. Listen to the noise level. Right? I never heard this 15 years ago. Now, if I turn the ham radio on, you hear the static, but you hear a channel like it's a distant communication signal that you can't tune in or find. You start going up the dial, down the dial, and you're like, geez, this is a really broadband signal. It's covering the whole spectrum of the dial, and it's not supposed to do that, you know? Anyway, so that's the story. As I'm freezing my butt off, waiting to get down to get the mail, which I can't get because I don't have a car. I'm waiting for someone to come up and say, gee, Joe, let me come up and drive you around for the day and help you take care of some personal business. I know you're stranded, you know? Instead of one guy, buddy, I used to call, don't worry, you ever need help? We've been buddies for 40 years. If you can't, give me a call. All right, this is 2-3 years ago. I give him a call. Hey, listen, my car's broken down. It's been about a week. I haven't been able to get to the store. I'm running out of food. You give me a ride to the store. He's like, geez. Well, maybe next week I can help you out. Right? I'm like, you're only fucking 7 miles away. Right? And you're my best buddy. And you got to maybe next week. Now, why? I don't know what happened to these people's brains up here. Somebody has used some sort of brain influential thoughts on all these people to create them to have these internal ghosts that harass them. This one guy up here I'm listening to, he thinks he's talking to Obama the ghost. Okay, Obama, if you think that's right, I'll do that. Like Obama's his secret friend, his hidden little make-believe buddy. You know what I mean? His imaginary friend that you have when you're a child. It's as though this is a fucking 57-year-old man with an imaginary child. You know? Unbelievable. You know? You got to listen to these people. Listen here. Say, why don't the cops do something? I can't believe it. I'm living right there in Berkshire. I live so close. I hear him on my earbuds because he's living right next door, and I can hear him on the system we're using to spy on him. This is what the person just said on the radio. Go listen to it. Play it back. Analyze that little clip. Now, it's a hidden sound. This is 100 millisecond spacing between these audio channels, okay? Now, you have to have all this delay shit set up. It's a covert channel used by the NSA, CIA. Now, why won't they listen and understand? These people stole your software. These are the terrorist spies. These are the international spies. This is not a domestic problem. This is international. It's linked to the Russians, obviously, and the what do you call election of the president. It's actually going on, right? Anyway, goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.